Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are staying safe. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to make this alternate blouse that I'm wearing. Absolutely gorgeous, really easy to wear. You can pair it with like some shorts like I'm doing now to be casual. You can tuck it in a little bit if you wanted, or you could even wear it like with jeans and heels and just look a little bit more dressed up. However, it's the second or third alternate top that I've made on this channel. So if you haven't seen the rest, go ahead and watch it. I will link it in the iCards above and description box below. So please go ahead, check it out. But before we get straight into the video, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Ayotolaoff, the creative director of So Unique Badini. I'm the content creator of this channel, DIY with So Unique Badini, and this channel was created just for you to teach you loads of sewing crafts that you can do from the comfort of your home. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, definitely hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, and then you don't miss out on the content that I make. To all my OGs, welcome back. I hope you guys are well. I missed you guys, and you guys know how much I care about you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the love. You guys are absolutely amazing. So yes, this is like a little a simple blouse that I've made. This is what it looks like. It's a high neck, you know, as you can see, and then obviously it has like a bit of a low neck behind, and what I've done is put some elastic so it stays firm at the back. So yeah, it's a really cute blouse, free around the sides, can be tucked in like I mentioned earlier, and if you want, you could just leave it like free. So let me know what you think. Do you like it? Yes, no? Let me know in the comments below, and yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the video as well. All right guys, we'll talk soon and enjoy the video. Bye.
You will need the following items. You need a pencil. I'm using a Sharpie to make it clearer in this video. You'd also need your measuring tape. You need your paper scissors. You need a ruler. I'm going to be using my pattern master, which is one of my favorite tools, but you can use any curves that you have. And of course, you need some pattern paper. While editing, I found out that the lines on the pattern paper were a bit distorted and it wasn't really clear. I'll make sure to use, a clear paper or plain paper subsequently. So I do apologize for that. So go ahead and fold your pattern paper into two as shown. And then you want to start off by drawing a top line. You also want to make sure that the folded part or the center front in this case will be the part that is next to you. So for me, the folded part is that part where I'm actually measuring on at the moment. So go ahead and measure the blouse length, which is a vertical measurement, and then go ahead and square it out, which is what I've done now. So right now we have a bit of a rectangle. Starting from the top, you want to go ahead and measure the shoulder to bust point measurement. So that's the shoulder to bust point. And then you also want to go and measure you want to mark the shoulder to waist measurement, which is what I've marked at 16.5. And then now you have your blouse length at 24 inches in this case. Now mark 3 inches above the shoulder to bust point measurement, which will be the armhole line, and I tend to use 3 inches because that works most of the time. Remember that this is kind of a freehand drafting. Go ahead and square out all these points that you've marked. So the first point is the armhole line, the next one is the bust point, and the last one is the waist. The next one is the waistline, and the last one is the blouse length. On the shoulder line, which is the top line, you want to go ahead and mark half the back measurement, and you do that on the same armhole line as well. Now with dotted lines, we're going to connect these 2 points, and we're going to use a dotted vertical line. Now the next thing you want to do is on the bust line, you want to mark 1/4 of the bust measurement plus 1/2 inch for ease. So I've gone ahead to mark that, and then on the blouse length line, go and mark 1/4 of the hip measurement plus 1/2 inch plus for ease as well. Now going back to the armhole line, which is the second line or the second horizontal line, you want to go ahead and mark the bust measurement, 1/4 of the bust measurement. No need to add the ease for that. Now go ahead and connect all this line. So you're connecting the line on the armhole, the line on the point on the armhole, the point on the bust line, and the point on the blouse length line with a slant line as shown. If you notice a bit of extra around the hip area or the blouse length, don't worry about that, that's normal. Now, depending on what kind of, alternate top you want to do, you can decide to mark the neckline, which is what I'm doing in dotted lines, just so you can see. However, for the type that we're making today, we don't need to mark the neckline. If you want to show you another kind of free alternate blouse where you have like a neckline, let me know and I'll be happy to do a tutorial for that as well. I've done another one that is a bit fitted. However, for this, we don't have to. So go ahead and lower the armhole line by 1/2 inch, which is what I've done, and then go ahead and draw in the armhole. When you're drawing the armhole, you want to go from the line that you've just lowered, and then you want to go in all the way in the side and back all the way to the top, which is what I've done. At the base, add 1 inch allowance for the hemming allowance, and then go ahead and add half an inch on the side for the sewing allowance, right? Because we're going to be using a lightweight fabric, you don't need more than half an inch. Now I like to do this thing at the edge where I just make a bit of a curve, so go ahead and do that if you want to. You don't need to make it more than, you know, it doesn't need to go higher than 1 inch from the original blouse length. Alright guys, so the next thing we want to do is the shoulder slant, and typically you start from the neck width, you mark half an inch down, and then you draw a slant line and then add the allowance. However, in this case, because we're not cutting at the neckline, you start from the edge and then you draw a slant line by half an inch at the other edge, and then you link it together, right? So just drop it down by half an inch on the other side and link it together, and then go ahead and add the sewing allowance of half an inch at the top. After doing that, go ahead and add the sewing allowance to the armhole curve area as well, and then after that you're literally done with your pattern. Go ahead and cut out the pattern with your paper scissors, and this is what it looks like, guys. It's literally all finished. So open up your pattern, and then I'm just going to give you guys a glimpse of what the blouse will look like. It's one of those ones where we don't have a neckline and we kind of just, you know, fold it or gather it at the top and at the tie. So let's go ahead and start cutting our fabric. The most suitable type of fabric for this top or this blouse is chiffon or silk. You need something a bit lightweight. Now go ahead and get your fabric, place it on the table, and then fold the fabric over. For this, I'll be cutting the front and the back at the same time. So what I've done is folded my fabric into 4 layers. So essentially I folded my fabric into 2 and then I folded it again so that it's into 4. Go ahead and pin the pattern onto the fabric, making sure the center front, which is the area on fold, is properly pinned onto the folded area of the fabric. Now after doing that, remember that the pattern already has the sewing allowance. Cut out the excess fabric and then go ahead and cut out your fabric using your pattern as a guide. So like I mentioned earlier, I decided to cut out the front and the back at the same time. So basically what I've got is my front and back pieces. Go ahead and take out the pins and then separate the front and the back pieces of your pattern. And what we're going to do is modify the back when we get to that point. So we have the front piece and this is what it looks like. So again, we're going to get out the top of the blouse, and I think you can already see what the blouse will look like. To modify the pattern, go ahead and cut it around the armhole line, and then go ahead and place this pattern on the fabric that you've cut out for the back piece. So fold it, make sure it's on the wrong side, and then go ahead and place the pattern. If you need to use some weights, use some weights, and if you need to use some pins, go ahead and use some pins. After you've placed it and you're happy with the placement, go ahead and cut it. Remember that all allowances again are on the pattern, so don't bother too much about that. Next, we will need to cut out the necktie or the halter neck tie, and for that you want to go ahead and get some fabric. I'll recommend something that's about 50 inches in length at the very minimum, or 60 inches in length if you want to get the perfect tie. So I'm using about 60 inches in length. I went ahead to fold the fabric into a manageable size, and then I decided to cut it out. I went with a length of about 10 inches. So starting from the top, I took my measuring tape, I made sure that the width was fine, and then I made sure that the total length was about, 10 inches, what I wanted to cut out. So I went ahead to mark 10 inches, and I used my fabric scissors rather to cut out 10 inches of width. Now that we have the fabric, it's about 10 inches wide and about 60 inches long. I went ahead to fold it into 2, and then I'm going ahead to pin the outer edge. So that's the edge that is not on fold. Now after pinning this all the way to the end, I folded it over as shown, and then the next thing to do is to amend or fix the tie the way you want it. Now one important thing is, like I said, put it on fold here, and one important thing for me is I wanted to make sure that at the part where it meets the neck, it wasn't too high. So the maximum height I wanted there was 3 inches when I had to mark 3 inches there, and I marked 3 inches all the way to the half of the tie. So while the tie was on fold, I marked half of it, and I marked 3 inches at the half point. When I had to cut out 3 inches, then I made it wider, decided to slant my hand towards the edge of it. So as you can see, I have a bit of a slant. So go ahead and replicate what I've done here. Now also, it's important to know that I notched in the middle. So after notching in the middle, another important thing is you want to decide how wide you want the gathering in front, and I wanted it for 3 inches. So I marked 3 inches again, and I went ahead to notch the 3 inches part. You will notice that when you open this up, you would have 3 notches, the center notch, and then a notch on each side 3 inches away from the center notch. So go ahead and sew it all the way around the sides, making sure to leave only the part that is the notched area open. Alright guys, so this is me sewing the necktie. Of course, I'm using my Janome HD9 heavy duty sewing machine, and I start sewing from the slant area all the way. Now once I get to about 1 inch away from the first notch, I kind of leave it unsewn, and then once I get past the last notch, I start to sew it again, right? So you want to leave that gap open. So after sewing, go ahead and iron it. I'm using a steam iron just to make sure that it's well ironed and everything is as it should be. You want to make sure it's nice and flat, and around the notch area as well, it will help you to kind of fold it in, which is what I'm doing. So just make sure that it's folded in nicely, and this is what it looks like after. Alright guys, so at this point the necktie is done, but before we fix the necktie onto the blouse, go ahead and notch the center of the blouse at the top, and then we're going to go ahead and get some bias strip and attach the bias strip onto the armhole area. That's because we're working with chiffon. It's really lightweight, and the best thing to do is to use some bias strip. You don't want to, use some lining. You need to use like bias strip to finish it. Now with bias strip, I know some people like to work from the back onto the front or from the front onto the back. I actually start from the back and work onto the front, but of course when you're doing this method, it has to be like really neat and really precise. So this is me just fixing my bias onto the top, and again, as you can see, I'm not using any pins or pegs, but please, if it helps you, use pins, because trust me, I was just being absolutely lazy. Alright guys, so after finishing the armhole with your bias strip, this is what it looks like. And remember that we did a notch on the center. So let's go ahead and zoom into the notch, and now we want to get the neck strip that we made earlier. On the neck strip, you want to find the middle notch, which is that point, and then you want to go ahead and pin in the blouse onto the middle notch. Now remember that you're working with the right side of the blouse facing you. Now at the edge of the blouse, which is where the armhole ends, you want to go ahead and pin that onto the last notch on the left, and then on the other side of the blouse you want to pin that onto the last notch on the right. Okay, and then all around the center you should have a bit of excess fabric. Go ahead and create small pleats or gathers if it helps you. I'm doing tiny pleats, so go ahead and pin in tiny pleats in place. You want to make sure they're as even as possible, and like I said, if you prefer to gather that point, you can gather it. Now after putting all the pleats, this is what it looks like. Go ahead and sew it in place. You want to top stitch gently so that the blouse is in between the necktie. So as you can see, I've gone ahead to top stitch, and this is what it looks like. Now the next thing to do is to sort out the back piece. So let's go ahead and sort out the back piece. Go ahead and grab the back piece and create a notch in the center of the back piece. So just making sure I have the center, and then now I've created my notch. Once you have the center, the next thing to do is to grab your elastic, and you want to go ahead and measure the width of the back piece at the top. Now that I have the width as 22 inches, go ahead and get the elastic that is about half of that. So I cut my elastic at 12 inches, and then go ahead and create an elastic casing. To create an elastic casing, there are two options. You can literally just hem this in place. However, we didn't account for that, so we have no allowance for that, and that will make our blouse shorter. So the next best thing to do is to get some fabric and then go ahead and cut it out. You want the fabric to only be about 1 inch or 1.5 inches wide, not too much. I only did 1 inch, and then go ahead and sew this onto the back piece. So you're sewing it on the right side of the back piece. Now after you sew it on the right side, you place it like that as shown, and then you go ahead and sew it. After I sew it on the right side, this is what it looks like. Now the next thing to do is to fold it over onto the wrong side, and that way we are making a casing for the elastic. So as you can see, I folded it over onto the wrong side, and then now I have a casing. Cut out the excess after sewing, and then go ahead and attach your elastic onto a safety pin, and then we're going to feed the elastic into the elastic casing. When feeding the elastic into the elastic casing, you want to be careful so it doesn't disappear. So at the ends, go ahead and hold it in place with some pins, which is what I'm doing at the moment, and then continue feeding until it comes out on the other side. When it comes out on the other side, you can go ahead and use some pins to hold it in place as well, or you can literally just tack that point in place so that the elastic doesn't disappear into the casing. So it's entirely up to you. So once the elastic is firmly in place into the casing, this is what it looks like. And I know it doesn't look like the back of a blouse at the moment, but guys, don't worry, we'll get there. So go ahead and place the front piece on it, making sure the right sides of both pieces are facing each other, and then go ahead and sew the sides in place. Now, after sewing the sides, guys, this is what it looks like. As you can see, I went ahead to use the French seam method. That's because for lightweight fabric as well, I absolutely recommend using the French seam method. And if you don't know how to do that, go ahead and check out the shorts that I made on how to do this. I'll link it in the iCards above and the description box. It'll be very helpful. But this is what the blouse looks like, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We have now come to the very end of this tutorial. I hope it was worth your while and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below and I will catch you guys next week. Bye.